talk about activities management, things you do on a daily basis that will either be productive for you or not productive. There is nothing more useless than doing something well that's not necessary. And I think a lot of agents get into that mode. That's what this class is this next section is really about, is we can get sucked into activity after activity and not see any results in real estate. And it has less to do with the old school method of time management and more to do with activities management. We used to teach it as, I'm going to manage my time so I can accomplish more. Now I'm going to have, what we're going to talk more about today is self-management, managing yourself through that, because the amount of time we have is the same for everybody. It's just how you use that time, and it's significantly different for the results that you want. Because we've had agents come in and they've worked 8 hours a day, clock in, clock out, kind of a fill, and still not making any money. And we've had agents that come in for a couple of hours, really productive, get the things done they need to, do really, really well, and then they're not here all day long. And there's a balance between being able to do the effective things and being able to do the right things too. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what this is really pertaining to. I heard this, I saw this graph and they talked about this once, which I thought was really interesting. Our results are put into 4 different categories, whether we're accomplishing something or not, okay? One category is an overwhelmed and overachievers. Okay, these are people that they're completely overwhelmed, but they're doing really, really well. Okay, this group here is successful super achievers. Okay, this group over here is unengaged in anything. And then this section over here is overmotivated underachievers. Okay, this is the group that likes to go to all the seminars, they go to all the trainings. They're reading every single book. They're doing every single thing that looks right, but they're not achieving anything. Okay, so we all fall into one of these categories and we can kind of rotate through them. Well, ultimately we want to be over here, but in some areas we're overwhelmed and we have to readjust some of the activities that we're doing, but we're still achieving. So we don't want to stop activities. We want to make some adjustments so that the activities aren't overwhelming us. Everyone gets overwhelmed by different reasons. And so when we go through today, I want you to think about what does overwhelm you? What are the things that stress you out that could prevent you from being enjoying the job? Because I've seen this where it's like, yeah, I'm having a really great experience, but everything else is falling apart. We had an agent once, he was closing 50 transactions a year. And he was always working nonstop, never was home. And he's like, I think I've got to quit. Like, I think I'm done with real estate, because he was so overwhelmed that his life was falling apart, but his business was succeeding. And so what we ended up doing is coming back in here and saying, okay, what's the overwhelm? What kind of systems can we put in place? And when we were able to implement those systems, he went from closing 50 transactions to, I think the most he's ever closed was 270 transactions. But he was home more and he was doing more things. So it's definitely a possibility. You just have to look at it and say, where am I at? And what do I need to fix that? I think we can all be in these categories throughout our life. We have to decide, where do I want to be and what do I need to do to get there? There's times where I've been really unengaged and I'm not doing the work, I'm not doing the practice, I'm not coming in. And then there's times where I'm doing all of those things and I'm still not producing. So that's what this is really about. It's about really figuring out what to do on a daily basis. Does that make sense? So what is one of the biggest challenges we have in real estate?
Finding qualified leads.
Qualified leads, okay. Anybody else have a thought?
Working without money.
Working without money?
Working without pay or no guarantee to pay.
Yeah,
That's a big one for me.
okay,
Having the motivation to want to do it.
okay, motivation.
No light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I like that. All of those, I think, fall into this one word. Distractions. Okay, so I would say that what you're talking about is a mental distraction for you. Okay, it's preventing you from doing something. Okay, 20 years ago, distractions, you had to go out and find distractions. Life was just not set up where you're sitting there, you're getting distraction. Right now, we have a distraction that sits in our pocket. Okay, if this buzzes, it's distracting me from what I'm doing. If something happens there, they can get my attention to it really quick. Does that make sense? So in this particular case, our number one threat to your success is distractions. The more distractions you get, the less likely you're going to be able to accomplish what you want. When we build in protections for these distractions, you'll be able to do things faster and it won't take you all day. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is if you look at what is your biggest distraction. And I alluded to this quote, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not have been done at all. That was Peter Drucker who said that. Okay, we do that on a daily basis. We're constantly looking at what is distracting me from doing this job. And it could be our thoughts, okay? It could be experiences we have. It could be things that are not necessarily in our control at the moment, but they are distracting us from getting to our ultimate potential. If we're aware of those, then we can work on those. Does that make sense? Okay, so we did this yesterday, but for income, okay? So I want you to look at your activities in a different light today. So if I do an income of, yesterday we talked about $50,000, and we'll do one at $100,000, okay? How much money are we making per hour on this? Remember from yesterday?
$26 an hour at 50K.
Okay, so $26 an hour, and this one's just under $50 an hour. We'll just put this at $50 an hour. Okay, so the way that I want you to think about in this class is for every hour that you're doing, that's what you're paying yourself to do that. So if it's not worth that to you, then you might want to adjust what you're doing. Does that make sense? So I'm going out and I'm door knocking, I'm calling people, I'm prospecting. That's a high money making activity. That's going to be worth it. I'm doing an email, might not be a high money activity. What I find is that when you work this job more like a job and not a hobby, is where you're going to see the success. That doesn't mean you have to do it for 8 to 10 hours a day. If your schedule doesn't allow for that, then figure out what your schedule does allow and then work with that mindset of what you're paying yourself. And if you don't do anything that day, then you don't pay. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna start this PowerPoint. Let's see. Slides that will help us look at this a little bit better. Has anyone heard of Parkinson's law? So no one's heard of Parkinson's Club? Sure, everyone's heard of it, you just probably didn't know it was called Parkinson's Club. Okay, so Parkinson, he was a naval historian. Okay, so he was a naval. This is back in like the 1930s, and he was doing this. He did this research, and he came up with different years and what happened here. So let's kind of analyze this chart for a second. So this is what he looked at. He said capital ships in the commission. So these are the number of battleships that were commissioned in 1914, 62. Officers, men, 146,000. Dockyard workers, 57,000. Dockyard officials and clerks, 3,200. And admirals, officials, 2,000. That's what happened in 1914. Okay, then he did a study up to 1928. In 28, capital ships in commission, there was 20 of the ships. Officers and men, there was 100,000. Dock workers, 62,000. Dock officials, 4,500, and admirals, 3,500. Okay, so what do you see happening? What is happening there? Okay, so
Ships or dockyard workers.
okay. So we're seeing that the ships go down and more workers are there. So what is that telling us? What is he discovering here? When you see that, do you see a problem with what happened?
More efficient.
We're more efficient now?
Now you're only commissioning 20 ships. You have less officers and men, so it's hard to say because everything changed. So it's hard to say exactly. The reason was not say efficiency. So
Okay, efficiency went up or went down?
up.
Okay, does anyone see how efficiency went the other way? Well, okay, so if you look at this, we're talking about, maybe I'll say this a different way. In this year, 1814, we had 62 ships we had to take care of. We were taking care of 62 ships. And not counting these ones, we're talking about dock workers and the dockyard officials. These are the people that work on the ships. These are the ones that are working with the ships. Okay? We have 57,032 that are working on these ships. We have 62 ships that we're now working on. Okay? 12 years later, or 14 years later, so 14 years later, we've dropped by 67%. The amount of work we have just dropped 67%. But we increased our employees by 40%. We increased our leadership by 78%.
So that would be less efficient.
Okay, it's less efficient because now I have this many people that are managing 20 things versus this many people who are managing 62 things. Okay, so what he found was that work expands to fill the time available for the completion. So I hire more people to do the same amount of work that less people did with more stuff. Does that make sense? So I'm in this process of saying, okay, I've got less work to do, but I'm putting more people in there, and these guys are still just as busy as these guys over here. It's the same thing with our business, is when I have time to do something, if I give myself 4 hours to do it, how long is it going to take me to do it? 4 hours to do it. If I give myself 2 hours to do it, how long is it going to take me to do it? 2. That's what he found is that work expands to fill the time that you're given. We can get things done a lot more efficiently when we give it less time and we're more focused, when we have less workers than when we jumped up that high. So now, I mean, if we went to this more, it's now costing them more and they're making less. Does that make sense? So that's Parkinson's law. Parkinson's laws, you probably heard the time, have you heard the time fills up the expands? You've heard that, right? Okay, so you've heard those, but then it goes even deeper than that. Okay, so we have this Parkinson one that I want you to keep in mind. Next one. The next one is he says is the law of triviality. Time spent on any item of the agenda will be in inverse proportion to its importance. Okay? So what I want you to look at is they did this study. Okay? And I'm not sure if the next slide, let me see. The next slide gives it away. I'm going to ask you a question about this one. Okay, so we have the two laws. The first one expands. This one, time spent is in reverse proportion. So now we're looking back at, let's see here. Just make sure I'm not explaining this wrong. Okay, yeah. Okay, so, oh, that's Kratos. Sorry, I skipped that one. Okay, so do we understand the law of triviality? The time spent on any items of the agenda will be in inverse proportion of its importance. Do we understand that? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one.
I'm actually
I think that these slides are backed up because there's one. I'm going to come back to this one. Okay, here it is. Time spent. Okay, so there was this story. There was a school board that was meeting to make some decisions. Who makes up a school board? In a city, in a normal town, who's the people that make up a school board? Do we know? Does anyone know? It's just the people in the town. Okay, it's not. It's like you and I. If we were in a school zone, we could make up that board. Okay, and then that board makes decisions for that school. Does that make sense?
Like in a public school.
Public school. We're talking about public school.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had to make a decision. Okay, the first decision they had to make was it cost them. They got three choices. I'll write it over here so you can see it. Okay, so item number one, they had one choice to make, or they had one to make on this, and there was three choices on this one. There was one that cost $2 million. $2 million. One was 1.5 million, and one was 1.7 million. Okay. The other one costs, and so that's option. That's item number one. Item number two they were discussing was 200,000 and 150,000. Okay, so they're discussing two items, and I'm not going to tell you what these items are yet because I want you to kind of see what we're doing. They looked at this and they said, okay, we got to make two decisions today. One is this item number one, and it's expensive item, and one is item number two, not as expensive an item. Okay, they ended up spending in an hour, 45 minutes on this one, and 15 minutes on this one. Okay? When they looked at this, they said, I'm going to have you guess what you think they're debating on. But in this first item, they ended up going with the highest bid, and in this one, they ended up going with the lowest bid. Okay? Now, think about this for a second. If you were discussing something, what do you think these two items could be? You know? Remember? This is a school. This is a decision that the school had to make. One was a big decision, and one was a $200,000 decision. Okay? Materials. Okay? Books. Okay, I like it. Okay? This particular one, and I want you to think about this and think about the school board. This particular item right here was a new building. Okay? And they spent 15 minutes talking about a new building, and they ended up taking the $2 million building. The next one they spent 45 minutes on, and they ended up taking the lower bid on this one. What do you think this one could be?
Was it about like something really important to the kids, like education?
Labor? Okay. You know, and what else? Yep, toilet paper. Okay. They were discussing 45 minutes on toilet paper. Okay, now I bring that up because why do you think that was the case? Now remember, who's talking about this? Who's the ones talking about it? Parents, people that live in the neighborhood, right? Why do you think they're talking about that? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they definitely need a toilet paper. But why would they talk about toilet paper for 45 minutes and a building for only 50? What do you think?
A lot of different opinions,
A lot of it, yep, okay. You're going down the right path.
and everybody agreed, obviously. I got a disagreement with you.
Okay, so you're going off the last law that we talked about. Okay, what do you think they were more familiar with? The toilet paper, right? Everybody was really familiar with the toilet paper. So in this particular case, they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, the activities and the time spent on it is in proportion to how comfortable I am with those activities. How comfortable I am with them. So if I'm going to spend, if I know, in this case, they don't know a lot about the building, but they do know a lot about toilet paper, they're going to have a longer discussion about something they know than they're going to have a discussion about something they don't know. But ultimately, this one costs them a lot more money than this one. So we do that same thing in our business when you look at these three laws that we talked about, okay? So time spent on work will be in inverse proportion to its importance. We work on the least important items first and most, and we work on the most important items last and least. That makes sense? So it's the same thing that they're doing here is they spent most of their meeting discussing the least important item. Then they didn't have any more time and they had to discuss shorter amount of time and ended up losing more money. So how do we do that in real estate? How do we do that in our daily activities? Yep, emails, all the things. Because why would we spend more time on those?
Easier, so like you know it better.
Easier and we know it better. We feel more comfortable with it. We're gonna spend more time on that. So we're gonna spend this 80% of our time doing things that are not necessarily the most productive activities. So if you look at the last law that I'm gonna talk to you about is Pareto's principle. Anybody know what that one is? It's the 80-20. Have you ever heard of that? Yes?
Yeah, so you get 80% of your business, 20% 2% of them.
Yeah, so 80% of what we do produces 20%, and the 20% produces the 80%. So if you look at business, even for the brokerage, 20% of you agents will produce 80% of our income. 80% of the agents will only produce the 20%. So if you change that to your activities, the things that you do, 80% of what you do on a daily basis is going to give you 20% of your income. Because you're doing this. You're spending more time on the things that are familiar with you than you are on the things that really make a difference for you. Okay, there's 5 activities that we have in a day that can actually make you money. Everything out of those 5 activities doesn't necessarily make you money, but can lead to you making money. Okay, so these are the 5 activities. And I have a really fun acronym for this one too, just like my contacts in ARB. Okay, so everyone comes in to the business with a plan A. Okay, what do you think most agents' plan A is when they come into the business? Like, what do they want from real estate?
Money,
Money and
easy schedule.
easy schedule. Okay, what else? That's it? You guys, what'd you get into real estate for?
Just to help take care of my family.
Okay, take care of your family. Okay, I've heard they like to travel. They like to have flexibility. They don't want to have a boss. They want unlimited income. There's no ceiling on your income, but there's also no floor, just so you know. So you can skyrocket or shoot down either one. Okay, that's plan A. And I look at it and I go, okay, well, plan A is great, and you can get to plan A, but you have to go through plan B to get to plan A. And plan B is prospect, lead follow-up, attend appointments, negotiate deals, and work with buyers. See my cheesy thing? Plan B.
Oh my.
Got it?
God. Oh.
These are the 5 things that if you're engaged in these things, you're going to be making money. Okay, anything other than that, and you get into a position where you are working on the business that can help these things, but these are the activities that you should be doing on a daily basis. This should be your 80% that's producing your business, but what typically is this? The 20%. Okay, so based off of that law, you're saying 20% of my time is involved in money-making activities. Where's my 80% at?
Client needs, you know.
Yeah, admin, client needs, emails, systems. Okay, that's where most agents are doing that. What I want you to do is I want you to reverse these. Okay, I want this to be your 80%. Okay, which means that out of 5 days in a week, 4 days a week, you're working your schedule. You're doing the things that you need to be doing to make money. Does that make sense? Okay, so what should you be doing on a daily basis? So if you look at, we're gonna do just a simple breakdown so you can kind of see where everything goes. It's really a simple way of doing this, but how many work days are in a year? Does anyone know?
360.
365 is the number of days, but just work days minus holidays and
Wow.
holidays and weekends, there's 240 work days. Okay, that's if you take off all the weekends and you take off all of the holidays, 240 work days. Okay, now most agents don't work 240 work days. Okay, so they probably will only work 220 work days. They take an extra 20 days off in the year to work. Okay, the one activity we want to do, we're prospecting. What do we prospect for? What are we trying to do every single day? Set one appointment. So if I set one appointment, how many appointments am I going to set? If I set one appointment every single day?
220.
220 appointments set. Okay, that's the goal. Now, if I set 220 appointments, how many do you think I will go on? What's a good number?
What do you mean that you'll go on? Like,
So I set an appointment, now I'm actually gonna go to that appointment.
That they don't cancel on you?
They don't cancel or I don't cancel.
you should go.
Percent?
Yeah, we go
80?
75 to 80.
75, okay? So I wanna make sure you're going to at least 50% of them. And the reason for that is the more, when you get higher than this, 75, unless your requirements for setting an appointment are really, really strict, you're now going on unqualified appointments. So there's a level that I like to see the agents at is around 50% of the appointments you're gonna go on. Because some of them will cancel on you, some of them you will look at and say, there is no way I'm gonna be able to sell this house. It's worth 600,000 and you want $1.2 million for it. I'm not gonna show up, I'm not gonna sell that house, right? So half of them, let's just say we only go on half of them. So how many do we go on?
110.
110, okay? That's how many we're gonna attend. Now, when I go there, we say in our morning, in our 12 steps to summit success, we wanna take 75% of our listing, our appointments, take them, like sign them. But what's more realistic for most agents?
Like to actually like go on the appointment.
You go on the appointment and you close, and you get the deal.
That's probably only happening 10% of the time, I bet.
Okay,
15% of the time.
10, okay, so I want you to get up to 75%, but 10% could very well be there, right? Okay, so what's 10% of this?
11.
Okay, so 11, so I'm gonna take 11, if that's 10%, right? I would say that most people, we're gonna try to shoot for 20 to 30%, but let's just go with 10%. 10%, and then I'm gonna close probably 90% of those. So 90% of that, we're gonna go with 9 transactions closed, and our transaction in the company is 12,500 times 9. How much money is that? Math whizzes? You're not even gonna try, you're like, nope.
112,500.
Okay, so doing one simple task, that's how you can do that. But the reality is if you improve this, let's say I get this up to 30%. Now how many is that? 30% of 110?
33.3.
Yeah, 30.3, right? 33 times 12.5 is how much? $300K plus. Do you see how the income can go up in this business by doing just what? What are we doing?
Qualifying appointments?
What's that?
Qualifying the appointments, going only to qualify the
Well, what was the one activity we did?
Set a
set appointments.
There you go. Set 1+ appointment per day. That's it. That's how you increase income in this business. So if you're putting 80% of your time here, and the whole objective is to make sure that you're doing the things to set one appointment, and you start setting appointments, now this is a skill set here. Okay, so here, this skill set right here, that's your qualification. Make sure we go. You know, I don't want to, if I'm going on 80% of them and I'm taking less, Well, maybe if I went on 50% of them and I went on only the real important ones, the ones that were really qualified for me to be there, now my take ratio goes up higher and I don't waste time. Once I get to this section right here, this section right here, I have to take time out of my schedule to do something. Whether I get the deal or I don't get the deal, I'm still going somewhere. You're late.
I know.
Like 3 hours. Just kidding, okay? So I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, these are the things that I'm already there. I'm already at the appointment, I already did. We talked about the appointment this morning, 45 minutes to 2 hours. I mean, to do one appointment, I'm gonna drive there. So there's half an hour maybe, could be further if you drive further. Then I'm at the appointment for 45 minutes to an hour, and then I drive back. Then I have all the preparation time to get ready for the appointment. How long does it take you to do a CMA right now? How long does it take you to do a CMA, right?
Take that long, 30 minutes?
30 minutes, okay, so add another 30 minutes onto that. One appointment might take you 3+ hours. Well, you only get credit for the attending portion of it, not all the preparation for it. You see how you can lose track of the things you're doing really easy? I set 2 appointments this week and that eats up that much time. That's where you start getting more efficient with this, and we say, okay, let's look at this. How do we pre-qual to make sure I'm not wasting time with people I shouldn't be wasting my time with? Doing this well increases this. So if we're at 10%, we can go up to 30%, and in fact, I want to get up to 75%. That's the goal that we're shooting for, is that you're taking 75% of all the business you're going to, which means you're only wasting your time 25% of the time. Versus right here, how much time are we wasting? 90% of our time, we're wasting our time because we're not taking the deal. Do you see where we lose time in our day? We want to pre-qual. Now we go back to what we talked about this morning, our presentation. We have a really solid presentation. Right here is your solid presentation. So you can, not close, take, right here, 10%, that's your presentation. Well, if you have a really good presentation, you're going to increase this number to get up to there, because you're going to qualified people and you're talking to them and you're giving them a great presentation, which leads to a natural close, which we talked about, right? We're good with that. That's how we increase business here. That's how we become smarter with our time. Any questions on that? Okay. So then we're gonna break it up into how do we track that? Okay, so tracking that is the biggest key, because that's where, when I track something, the information I get from it tells me a story. Right, put that here. What are things you can track in your life? Like, what are some things that you've tracked before?
Diet and eating.
Diet and eating, okay? So what is diet and eating, if you track those, what does it do for you?
But you know how much weight you're losing a week, or things for that nature.
Okay, so it tells you a story of what's happening, and what do you do with that information?
You can obviously see the projection of which way it's going.
Okay, and at that point you can make adjustments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what we want to make sure we're doing. So now we're going to do these 3 categories here. Non-productive. Okay, and I want to go through what you think some of these are. Okay, now I want you to make sure that we're not mixing up, making these words different than they really are in this concept, okay? When I say non-productive, I don't mean not valuable. When I say non-productive, I'm not saying you shouldn't do those activities, because we're going to list some things that are non-productive activities. But we have a tendency to be like, I need to be productive 100% of the time. Well, if I don't take time to prepare for a presentation, how productive am I going to be in that presentation? You're not going to be productive, right? So there's things we have to put in this category of things I want you to do that are non-productive activities. But I don't want you to think of not important. They're just they're not part of this, I'm making money. So remember how I said there's things we have to do, admin, clients, emails, like you have to get back with your clients, you have to email them, you have to talk to other agents in your day. Well, what are these activities? So let's look at this first one, productive activities. What are productive activities?
Signing contracts.
Okay,
Do a closing.
closings. Sign contracts. Okay,
Price reductions.
which I call just taking another listing. You get a price reduction and you all of a sudden get another listing because now it's sellable, hopefully, unless you don't get a real good price reduction,
Drop it $1,000.
okay? Okay, what about indirectly productive activities? Okay. Okay, so it leads to this. Okay, setting appointments. Okay, I don't think any of us would argue that setting appointments is not a productive thing, but it's indirectly productive. These are the things that are making us the money. So we're over here going, okay, I'm putting these things in here. All of these things are in productive and unproductive. And anything else in the indirectly productive?
Advertising.
Okay. Okay, what about non-productive activities?
Making flyers.
Classes like these, welcome. Okay, doing your CMAs. I like lunch. Does that make sense? Okay, so what is this, now we're gonna start tracking this. What does this tell us? If I spend most of my time over here, now remember those 3 laws that we talked about, Parkinson's laws, trivia, all of those things. Okay, well, Plato's, all of this takes into effect on what we're doing on a daily basis. So if I spend more time, where do I want to spend more time?
Productive.
Yeah, productive activities, but what does it tell me when I track this? If I'm over here all the time, I'm not gonna get this. If I'm here, it should be leading me to this. If I'm here, I'm making lots of money. So if I'm gonna spend more time on the things that are gonna be productive for me, I wanna know where everything is. So I gave you this sheet. I've given you this lots of times.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so what this is we call it the power comes in telling the truth. We have a tendency to fill our days with busy stuff, okay? The time we give it is going to be filled with work. Just like those ships that we talked about. The time that we give it, it's gonna fill those times. So here's how we start tracking it. So you start tracking it every 15 minutes. What are you doing on a daily basis? Okay, the T, I, and P. Productive, indirectly productive, and non-productive, okay? You start tracking what you're doing on a daily basis and try to get this number to be 80%. You wanna get this number up here. You know, you might look at this as, probably let's just divide it up, Here's a, 35% here and 35% here, okay? What you wanna see is where you currently are. Because if you don't look at what your business is right now, then you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know to change it. So what I want you to do on this is, if you'll take the challenge, one of these days when you're specifically working real estate, I mean, you can do it in any part of your life, but if you look at your day and you say, okay, I'm gonna track that. If you track it, you're a little more conscious of it. And when you're conscious of it, you can make adjustments from it. And in this particular case with real estate, there's things that will make us money and there's things that won't. And if we track it and say, okay, I'm spending more time on things that won't make me productive, then that's where the problem is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's how we start self-managing ourselves instead of managing the time. Because when we manage the things that we do, we can improve the things that we do. When we improve the things that we do, we can be more successful on it. And it won't take as much time. Okay, there was I'll leave you guys with just an experience that I had with prospecting. So George, he always used to say, I talk to 100 people in a day. And I always tried to do a lot. I was trying to get 50 people a day. I thought one day I'm gonna talk to 100 people today, just to see, just so that I can tell them I did that too. And so I set this goal. I was like, I'm gonna contact 100 people in that day. So I got up in the morning, did morning ascent, went there and started prospecting. How long do you think it took me to hit 100 people? And I was like 90% on the phone. It was all on the phone.
Like actual contact.
Actual talk to and spoke to.
6 or 7 o'clock.
6 or 7 o'clock.
It's only took me.
Yeah. See, you did it too. Okay. It actually took me just over 7 hours of straight on the phone. And guess how many appointments I set that day?
0.
I set 0 appointments.
You were too worried about getting through the 100.
I was focused on what?
Getting through the 100.
Getting to 100 people, right? So the next day I decided that that was a waste of time. I'm gonna focus on setting appointments. And I'm not gonna leave until I set 2 appointments. And once I set 2 appointments, I'm gonna go, I'll be done, because that was the goal. How long do you think it took me to set 2 appointments when I was focusing on 2 appointments? 2 hours?
Yeah, from 2 or 3 hours.
Took me 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Why did it take me 40 minutes?
You got a specific focus.
My focus was specifically, I want to get this, I'm getting this today. Versus the other day, when I talked to 100 people, my goal was to talk to 100 people. We do the same thing with your guys' businesses. You go, okay, today I only have 4 hours to do real estate. Hopefully you have all day to do real estate, but let's say you only have 4 hours to do real estate. You come in and you do 3 hours of non-productive activities and then expect to have the results that you want. You're gonna find that you're doing the same thing as this toilet paper thing. You're spending way too much time on the least important stuff and you're making poor decisions on the important stuff. And you're only spending 15 minutes on this. When we start tracking what we're doing, we find that we can start changing that and doing more productive stuff. There's no reason you can't be like, I got 4 hours today, I'm gonna be 80% of my time on productive activities, 20% on the other stuff. And then you can kind of adjust that as you go through. And what you're gonna find is business is gonna start happening for you.
Why wouldn't you just start your focus with the appointment?
Why didn't I?
Instead of focusing on this many contacts. Like, cause they kind of teach you like, oh, make sure you do at least 30 a day, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So why would you just go focus more on the appointment aspect instead of worrying about 30 contacts a day?
Yeah, and you bring up a great point. And it really comes down to being able to stay in integrity with yourself, the same things you say, and continue to progress, okay? In reality, it's not even appointments that we really want. What do we really want? In the end of the day, what do we really want?
Listing your, a contract, something.
Okay? I would say we even want something more than that. Discipline.
Closed deal.
A closed deal. We want to be paid, right? So we can track single thing that we look at and say, okay, in reality, I'm going to track, I want to get paid. So if we took that logic which I agree with you on that logic, if I take that logic that I'm going to focus on the most important things, then I really should be setting myself the goal that says I'm going to get paid today. I'm going to get paid. That's what I'm doing. I'm here to get paid. But because our brain, the way our brains work is that seems too daunting sometimes, where we have to bring it down and say, okay, what's manageable for me at this point in my mindset?
Being a new agent, I can see how you would lead into that.
Yeah,
But
'cause-
once you figure it out, it's like you should just start focusing on appointments.
Absolutely, and that's what I want you to do. But like for you as a brand new agent, if I said, so we go back to discipline and accountability, I'm gonna set some accountability for you, okay? We're looking at it saying, you wanna do a closing, okay? If I said, if you get a closing today or tomorrow by 5 PM, then you don't have to pay me $1,000. Would you make that accountability with me? You have to have a closing by tomorrow at 5. Okay, you're saying no.
No, I mean, how far, it depends how far you are into the process when you're asking.
Where you're right now.
No, I'm like, that's not even realistic.
It's not realistic, right? So if I say my goal is to close, that's the ultimate goal. The goal is there. And I set that as my accountability, I'm going to get, what I call it, getting out of integrity with yourself, because I say, I'm gonna do this, and then I don't do it. That's basically me saying, I didn't do what I say I was gonna do, right? So now I bring it down, and I say, okay, now in order to get a closing, I need a signed contract. So I'm gonna say, you need to have a signed contract by tomorrow at 5, or you owe me $1,000. Would you make that accountability with me?
Yes.
Okay, so he might make that accountability with me. Okay, but would you? No, would you? No, okay? Because right now it could
They
be,
already have things in the works. You know what I mean? Like,
he
that's-
might,
He might have something that's close to being to that
or he
point
just
that
wants to
can
pay me
just go-
$1,000.
He just,
Or maybe that's what.
or yeah, or he could do the other way, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so now I bring it down, I go, okay, now it's attending appointments, okay, and then I talk it to setting the appointment. Okay, and then if I get to the point where it's like, am I at the skill level where I'm setting one appointment every single day? That's where I want you to get to, but are we at that point? Well, if you're not, well, now I gotta bring it down and I say, okay, now let's talk about the contacts. How many contacts do you need to set an appointment? Well, we don't know that yet until we track it. So I'm gonna set that appointment. Then the second one goes even further. It goes down to time spent prospecting. Showing up at the office, okay? I have to start at different levels.
Getting out of bed, yeah.
Get out of bed, right? Like, we slowly get down to the point of like, where are you in this process and what activity am I managing? Because I'm not managing my time. All of this, we have the same amount of time. I'm self-managing myself. So right now, I'm guessing that for all of you, you don't have to have accountability to get out of bed. You don't have to get accountability to come into the office. Now we get to the point where it says, do you need to get on the phone? Well, if you do, well, I need to set accountability that says you get on the phone. For a lot of years, for me, the hardest part of prospecting was making that first phone call. Once I made the first phone call, then I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing it. But that first one was really hard. So I always set that I had to make my first phone call between 8 and 8:05, or I had to give my another agent $100. I didn't want to give $100, so I always made my first call between 8 and 8:05. No matter what, I had to dial it. And then once I dialed it, I was already on it, and then I prospected for 3 hours. But between 8 and 8:05, if it was 8:06, I owed him money. Does that make sense? Because I needed that for my business. But then I got to the point where it's like, I want to make 100 contacts. Well, I made 100 contacts, so that was a complete waste of time. I'm going to set appointments. I set 2 appointments that day. Now it tells me, it says, just focus on setting appointments. So now my accountability is, I'm going to set X amount of appointments every single day. Or this week, I'm going to do this many appointments for the week, because that's where I'm at for me personally. Does that make sense? So that's really what activity management is about, is you're looking at your business and saying, what is productive and what's not productive? And if you do that, and you keep adjusting it, you'll get into that 80%. Okay? Any questions? There you go.
Yeah.
She's told me it was 11:59, we're done.
Yeah.
We got done before 12.
There you go. Well, it's what, 12, like 30 seconds.
I know, I said before 12, I'm done. Come
Are
on.
we done or?
Yeah, we are done. Yeah. No, I'm not like George. I got one more thing.
One more thing,
One
20
more
minutes
thing.
later.
20 more
Almost
things.
done.
No, I'm done. So at 1 o'clock, we'll do dot loop. So if you can bring your computer, I can show you how to, we'll jump onto that. And then after that, I think I'm going just for an hour. Let's see, yeah, an hour, and then Russ is gonna come in at 2, and he'll go through Moxie Engage with you, and that's the CRM and the stuff that Century 21 provides for us. So everything we have that Century 21 can provide for you is part of being part of Century 21. If you choose to use other systems, that's fine, but these ones are included. So if you learn how to use them, you might as well use them. Dot Loop is one you have to use if you're in Century 21. It's like a requirement.
That one, yeah, I wanna know about that one.
So if you can bring your computer, great. If not, I'm gonna pull my computer up on the board and I'll just walk you through. You can just watch me on my computer. But if you wanna actually do it yourself, bring your computer. Okay? All right, see you in a little bit.
Not me.
No, but do you want
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Lorelei? You want Lorelei? Or does she already
She
do
already went to the one.
Oh, she already saw it?
She's better at it than me, so. Which is not like a lot.
No, I mean, just kidding. All right.
I had a question actually.
Uh-huh.
Sellers disclosure, they had it was FSBO.
Okay.
They had,
This is your, sold it on the one we just finished?
no, new one.
No? Okay.
So they were FSBO, it's FHA, so we can't even do that anymore, so.
Yeah.
So they had an investor or like a flipper come through trying to negotiate.
Okay.
They said they found meth,
Meth?
worse, yeah, meth in the house.
Okay.
They didn't send him a report or give him any like real inspection. Do they have to disclose that? I would have to do that, but I told them, I'll tell them I'll go first, see if it's actually meth, cause they were like, they
Yeah.
didn't really provide anything saying that there was a meth test done and actual showed his results.
Yeah.
He just tried to get it $100,000 less.
Yeah, well, what I would suggest to your client is have them do a meth test.
They can't afford gas right now.
Well, then I would disclose it.
I was like, I'm just gonna disclose it because they're like super proud.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part is if somebody says this is a problem with your house and it's a reputable source, like an inspection or somebody who, like that's the question that I have is you're getting it from the agent.
It wasn't an agent,
What?
it was a flipper.
Oh.
So he just claimed that they had,
Yeah, so that's, see then,
there's no paper, there's no.
that's where I would come back and I would say I still don't know whether there's meth because of the flipper.
Okay.
I would say I don't know, because if I came to your house and said, smells like mold.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
do you now, as a seller, have to be like, yeah, there's mold in my house because somebody came in and smelled mold?
Yeah.
Well, no, but if I did a test and I said, hey, I got a test and it says you got mold, here's the test, now you know.
Yeah.
And if an inspector said, hey, you got a problem with here, what it would tell me is we probably should do more investigation. But with it being just a random agent that's saying you have meth and no documentation
Yeah.
to support that,
Just like hearsay almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Much for the Memphis,
like $150.
Yeah.
that's the cheap kid you got Amazon.
Yeah, it feels like.
It might be.
Yeah, it
It's the
probably.
testing that's, you know, I mean, that's where the
Oh,
cost
yeah,
is.
so you can tell.
Also don't wanna do a test and then have them like have to disclose that, I guess, too, either. That's kind of the buyer's responsibility, right?
Okay, so but here's the challenge with that. If you have a suspicion that something's wrong and you refuse to do a test to find out more information, you still could be liable because it's like it's like when I was talking at Summit. The buyer sends me their inspection report.
Yeah.
I tell the seller, I got their inspection report, here you go, and they say, don't send it to me, I don't wanna see it. Because if I see it, then I have to disclose it. But you have access to it and you're choosing not to see it.
That's, yeah.
So you're running into the problem where, like, if they said, okay, you got meth in the house, and you say, okay, well, I don't necessarily believe that, you have any documentation for it, and they're like, no, we don't have any documentation for it. So you did a test, but you don't have the results, or you're not gonna provide me the results. Well, now if somebody came back and they said, I talked to this flipper, and he said you had meth in here, he told you that he had it, and you didn't disclose it, I'm suing you.
Yeah.
Then I would go back and I'd go, I don't have any information for that. I don't know whether it's mold. I said, I said, to my knowledge, I don't think there's anything in here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But whenever somebody says, should I disclose something, what's my answer?
Yes, always.
Always,
Never,
always,
anytime.
always.
Even if it's not,
You know why?
can't get in trouble.
You can't get in trouble.
I can get in trouble.
You can't get in trouble. The agent can't get in trouble by saying, no, yes, you disclose it. Cause if you said, no, like if I told my client what I just told you,
Yeah.
like, should I disclose that? And I said, no, I don't think you need to disclose that. The challenge that I would run into it is if they didn't disclose it and then they got sued, they'd be like, my agent said not to disclose it,
I guess it.
and you get sued, which is what we're getting sued for in St. George right now.
Oh.
Cause the agent, so the seller, had some soil testing done.
Okay.
Or, no, let me back up. The seller's dad had some, soil testing done. He moved out, his daughter buys the house.
Yeah.
She goes to sell the house. The dad sends an email to the daughter and says, hey, just so you know, this is what happened, you should disclose this. And the daughter says, oh, that was so in the past, I don't know anything about that. Didn't disclose it. Well, guess who also knew about it?
Buyers.
The agent.
Oh, the agent, no.
Okay, this is a material fact.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do as a material agent?
Disclose any known.
Disclose anything we wanna do. Now the buyer comes in, finds out that they did know about it, didn't disclose it, and now is suing us and the seller.
A lot.
Like 100,000.
That's a lot. That's crazy. Okay, well, I will not withhold it. I did tell him to, I said, I would disclose it, even if they weren't in their notes. Previous buyer claimed to have had meth in the.
Yeah, I mean, really, all it's gonna do is I think that's fine, like, yeah,
I'd rather have it there so they know that once we weren't in contract, they're gonna be like, hey, we know what we're buying, and it's not like a.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, we can negotiate more, like, oh, we told you already, so, yeah. Sweet,
yep.
you guys already did the business planning. Yeah, well,
It's on the schedule.
Excellent.
Was that what you were here for too?
No, I looked and saw that I missed that.
I completely,
I
I went
was
to the wrong
showing
one.
houses, so I forgot.
Hey, you were doing a job, you're doing some
I know,
productive.
I was trying to do something indirectly productive.
No, that's productive, isn't it?
You think?
That's productive.
What's that?
Showing houses?
Showing houses?
Yeah.
No, that would be
You're gonna write a contract from doing that, right? Russ said that.
Yeah, indirectly.
He said productive.
Showing houses?
If I'm not mistaken. Cause we were arguing about it and I was like, well, if you're showing a house, you're
Yeah,
getting
it
ready
depends
for.
on who you're showing it to, it could fall in either category.
Yeah, I could see it being in both categories.
I guess both.
Because
If you got
If you're
someone-
showing a house to some random person, then like, yeah. But if you're showing a person that's highly qualified buyer, that's what it was.
well, that's where my list of 5 things, prospecting, lead follow-up, and attending appointments, that's money-making activities in my book. The productive, indirectly productive, that's a Russ thing. I just teach it because it's his class.
That's true.
So I don't ever really, I look at it more of like, are you doing those 5 things? If you're doing those 5 things, you're gonna make money.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're doing other things, like the biggest key is those other things are important, but they're also not making you any money. So, you know, if you do 80% of your stuff in those 5 categories, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, I need more money, so I do more indirectly productive activities, so I can do more productive activities.
35%.
35, 45, 50%.
50%. Doing all the things you need to do.
Well, I can do more to have someone to be doing the indirectly productive stuff for me. I can spend more time.
Yeah, you're in a position where your challenge is not that your challenge is that you're doing the non-productive activities. That's what you're paying somebody else to do, right?
Exactly,
Where you have to do the non-productive activities, which it's just,
We'll get there.
yeah. Well, but so do I. I never hired an assistant.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I was probably at a point where I probably could have jumped my business to another level if I did, but I never did because I was doing what I needed to do. And my personality is very, I'm very organized. So for me, I don't need a TC because I know exactly what I'm doing and it's faster for me to do it myself than it is for a TC to do it. But at the same time, could it also be interpreted as my creative avoidance for more prospecting because I'm doing these activities? So I look at it as like, oh, I'm saving myself $350 because I'm gonna be my own TC, but I also spent, in the life of the transaction, an hour or 2 hours there where I could have set another appointment and made another $12,000. That's the difference is my brain says, I'd rather just do this because it's easier than having somebody else do it. But once you get to where you're at, if you could 100% put everything over there and then utilize your time, my guess is she's doing the non-productive activities and you're filling your day with other activities that are not necessarily making you money.
Yeah, well, she's making it easier for me to open up my time to do more productive activities. So if I do find myself doing stuff that's not productive, then I'm just pushing it to her. Like, this is where this comes in, like having an inventory of my day, whereas I'm coaching with like Just Terry right now, and she asked kind of a similar layout, like, hey, what are you doing? Or have you done these things? If you're not doing those things, what else are you doing, like, to fill your day? But conversely though, I think, just like with anything, when you hire somebody, you spend a lot of time in the beginning, like training and doing all that crap. And hopefully with the investment to, hopefully they'll take over all the non-productive stuff.
That's why hiring is important because let's say you spend all this time with your assistant and then come December, she gets another offer and leaves.
Yeah,
That's,
literally go get a job at Vessel Kitchen. I would.
yeah, you see the difference is once you find somebody who's good and you train it, yes, it takes a lot of work to get up to that, but you're now getting to the point where you can use her abilities to make your business go the right direction.
But I've already seen a difference. I mean, like, even just like taking a listing. Like, I don't touch anything. I literally just sign the paperwork and she does everything else.
Yeah, and so what I would say is you don't need to work on that anymore, you need to fill your time with more productive activities.
For sure.
You should be at 80%, so you do that thing right there, I wanna see where you are with your productive activities. Because my guess is you're not any more productive than when you didn't have an assistant, you're just doing less of the stuff.
That's true. Yeah, but accountability, for me, when I get challenged, then I feel like I'm more productive.
Yeah, because you need that external push to make you productive, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think, you seem to be more motivated to do certain things, but I don't know, maybe you have accountability set up.
So she's just very disciplined. Like, she thinks the same thing, does the same thing every single day, without thinking about it. Whereas I'm like all over the
I'm
place,
perfect at it.
so.
No, but that's a skill that you have where when you get up to his production and you're hiring an assistant, you're actually gonna go faster through the stage of his business than he is because of what you've got.
Unless we start competing and then I'll get really competitive.
You have a great discipline too.
Yeah, sometimes I don't. Lately I haven't had.
Yeah, I get steak dinner in January
From Andy?
with you.
No, from Andy. You're getting me, so he's giving you steak dinner, you're getting me one.
I'm gonna get steak dinner from you.
From Andy. We have accountability. I've already lost 7 pounds, so I don't know what he's doing, but
7 pounds in one day is water weight.
no, this is a week. It's not water weight, because my water weight already increased.
Is that what you told me about this?
Huh?
Get in his head.
Yeah. No, I don't care. I just want him to succeed.
I'm all sad.
But he was just like, well, Andrea said, oh my gosh, you look skinny. And I was like, no, he doesn't. He's skinny.
That's what I said. That's what I told him.
Speak the truth.
He said, you're gonna be able to see my abs, and I was like, yeah, through a cooler or what?
100%. 1,000%. I'll probably show you before the 5th. I'll do before the 5th.
Well, you know what? Here's the one problem.
That's fine.
You probably do have abs already. But I'm looking at it going, unless your body percentage is down into the 15 and lower percent, it's probably just the way your body designed it would be a little bit more definition.
Yeah, they're not like, I might abs sink in when I have that 15%. If I'm at 15%, I was like,
Yeah, what are you
show
gonna be?
ready. I am show ready. 15%?
15%? I have to get them to 8% to show any abs.
Yeah, well, that's genetics though.
I didn't have any, dude, I was down at 13%, freaking no abs, so
13?
it's like, what? Yeah, right, for women,
That's right, you think of, yeah, 13 is insane though for a woman.
it was,
That's insane.
that's why I'm not
No, I-
anymore.
The lowest I ever got was 11 and I couldn't see it.
Never got to 11. I was at 15 like when I was young, when I was a kid. I was probably at 13, 15. But I always
You
kind of.
probably
No.
sleep with one of those ab ropes.
Yeah,
Put it in, so that like it's like a
It, like,
natural
forms.
crease, a natural crease of like, it's flabby, but it looks like 6.
Yeah, I can see that, I see people that are like,
Yeah.
sure, higher fat.
It just, it really is my
I
buddy.
got their stomach, it's so cool.
My buddy, he did a bodybuilding show. He cut a ton. I think he got down to like 10, 11%. We could finally see an ab. But I had abdominals, muscles, and I wasn't doing a show. He was, and he was way lower body fat percentage than me, and I could see my abs visibly. Couldn't see it. But it's purely genetic, I think. Just
Wow.
that-
Okay, well, it's purely genetic, but I look at it and go, if,
But also, you can't be fat and have abs, so.
right, and you're saying you wanted to get down to 250 and you're 297, and I'm saying if you're not down to 250,
I won't.
you're not,
I won't. If I'm at 260, I
Right.
won't have abs, yeah.
which is what I'm saying, is by December 31st, you aren't gonna be at 250.
Yes, I am.
And I should get a steak dinner if you're not at
For
250.
sure. Not this one for the January 5th.
Oh, yeah,
We've already
January 5th.
done.
That's right, January.
You're in our contract.
Yeah, January 5th.
Oh,
I
sure.
should get a steak dinner
Yeah.
if
100%.
you aren't down to that weight. Like, you've been trying to get down to that weight for 9 months.
But here's the thing, my motivation, we were talking about this. My purpose,
Hey, your purpose is
My
to prove me
plan?
wrong, and that's what I want.
oh yeah, purpose,
I want
plan,
you to prove me wrong.
purpose, plan, schedule, goals, none of it was in place. But it's changed. I have, yeah, one more, so, we'll see. I mean, the only thing that could happen is I just eat a steak dinner. or eat-
Yeah, it's called Thanksgiving, it's called Christmas, it's called all the sweets. Oh, and you even got Halloween in there.
That's true.
Yeah,
It's
good luck with
also
that.
called discipline,
It had almost had a full pizza the other day.
almost, but that was before we started that.
It was the day we started.
Yeah, that was literally the day. Well, that's what we did. Went to eat and let's start around.
The one time I
Randy's.
did 75 hard was I did it like the last 75 days of the year.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, that's
So I
smart.
literally missed like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas.
That's smart though. That's
But then
smart.
after that, I was like, I'm invincible, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I thought I like, you know, I was like, oh, like I literally can't give up sweets if I don't, you know.
Yeah.
If I really want to,
That's good.
it's just actually wanting to.
That's true. All right, do you have any questions on that, Brittany? We'll see it.
That,
So I know we
no,
were,
not at the
meeting.
moment. I can work on that tomorrow, tonight, tomorrow.
okay,
So they were trying to figure out financing today. Just, because they had a couple options, they were trying to figure out who could invest. And then, yeah, do the offer, which, I mean, I know it's not like hard to do that, I just wanted to have you.
Yeah, I'll look
make
over it.
sure that it.
Yeah.
worked out.
yeah, no, that will be fine. Well,
What would you ask for in concessions off of bidding $100,000 house?
what do they need?
They need like 17
That's for 17.
for the buy down.
Well, so,
You think that's okay?
yeah, I mean,
Cause I did one that was almost like 100 in spring and originally asked for 18 and then we ended up with 28 after negotiations and stuff, so.
yeah, so you can talk to the lender and see how much you can get and just kind of get a number from there. I mean, my guess is you can get
I said 3%,
3%, so what's 3% of 800? That's what,
that's probably what it said.
24?
Good on you that you can do that.
It's probably not right, but,
20, wait. Oh, I did 80,000.
oh yeah,
800, yes.
24, right? Okay. It's the way my brain works.
Yes, my husband did.
So you have that leeway, so you know, you can ask for 24 and then go from there, but I also look at it, a lot of it has to do with, I'm gonna change my approach based on if I'm competing with somebody. So I'll tell my client, we're gonna go in and try to get as best a deal as possible for you, unless somebody calls in and says they're writing an offer. And here's the funny thing is, you can have a home that's sitting on the market for 5 months, nothing, and as soon as you write an offer, someone else writes an offer too. It just happens that way. So I look at it and I go, let's see what we can get, but I don't want my client to be like, oh, if I don't get $24,000, then it's the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, the whole reason they're wanting to do it is the buy down. So the buy down's gonna cost $17,000, and then anything above that is less money they have to bring into the table. But if your client has cash, lots of money, you're basically financing that in there, is what they're doing. So a 30-year loan for $10,000 is gonna cost them, $15,000 of the life of the loan. Is that worth it? Or just paying it off and not paying the $5,000? Well, if they're not gonna stay there for 30 years, then having somebody else pay that puts money back in your pocket. If you are gonna stay there and you don't have the money, well, financing the money so you can have your money to do something else. But if you ultimately have the money, it would be better to come down off price $10,000 than to have $10,000 in concessions. Because then your loan is gonna be less, and you're gonna pay less over the life of it. So there's lots of different options that you can look at. I look at it and go, well, am I gonna offer full price, or am I gonna come down $50,000? And then I'm gonna ask for another $26,000. So now I'm really giving them an offer that's $75,000 over their asking price. Well, as a listing agent, if you set that to me, one, I would try not to get my clients emotional about it, because they could get really like, oh, they're just lowballing me, and then not even answer. So I usually talk to them, make sure that we counter every offer that comes in. But if it gets to the point where the concessions that my clients are making are higher than 4%, I'd rather tell my client to reduce the purchase price, keep it on the market for another couple of weeks and get multiple offers. It's better for them. If we're talking about a 3% or lower, now I'm looking at it again going, if I do a price reduction of less than 3%, it's not gonna make any sense. So if you're willing to accept this offer, then let's do it. Otherwise, we won't accept this offer, and I'm gonna come to you next week and ask for a 3% reduction. So to me,
Yeah, that's fair. That's an interesting way to think about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I think they're comfortable offering close to the 800, if not just the full 800 asking, and then, but then asking for more concessions.
yeah, so that's a perfect offer, because if, as a seller, I would look at it and go, if I have to do a reduction, I'm gonna reduce it at least that much or more. So to me, that's worth it. Now, if it's been on the market for a really long time, I might push the envelope on that and just see what the seller wants to do. But if I was representing the seller and they wanted, $100,000 off my price, I'd say, let's drop it 75 and see if we can get you $25,000 more just by marketing it 75,000 less than we already had. That's better than the offer these guys have given me. That's how my brain functions with that. And so
Do you usually call and say like, this is what we're thinking of offering and then submit the offer? Or do you just
no,
write the offer and then call and say, hey, submit an offer?
No, I always call them and ask them. I won't tell them what I'm thinking, but I will ask them a lot of questions about it. So I see your number here. Is this your bottom line for your seller? What's most important for your seller? I'm gonna ask them questions they probably shouldn't answer. And if they do, then great. Because I'm looking at it as I want as much information as possible to give my client. So what's the point? Is your client moving? Have they moved? Are they in the process of moving? Like what's their deal? If they tell me, oh yeah, they got a house they're building, it's gonna be done this blah blah blah, because I'll say, what's the time frame? What do I want to know? What do you want in the contract? And then if they're like, typically when it comes to price, I'll say, we just want a really, really strong price. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
I know.
But I don't ever call them and say, hey, we're thinking about, offering, because if you called me and said, we're thinking about this price, if I answer that in, yeah, that's great, send that over, I'm not really doing my client a good service by answering that question for you. Because I'm basically telling you, then my client will take less, and I don't want that. So if you asked me that question, if you told me, you said, we're thinking about offering you this, do you think your client will take it? I'll say, I'll present whatever offer you wanna submit, I don't know whether or not they're gonna take it or not. So I'm not really giving you any information.
Yeah.
So for me, giving up that information, the only thing that really would do is they could come back and they, like, let's say that you're debating on whether I would even submit it. Let's say that my client wants to come in $200,000 less. I might call up the other agent and be like, hey, we don't see that number. We're probably gonna come in with a lower offer. Do you want me to submit an offer or not? But I only do that if my client's like, I don't wanna waste time, cause if I look at it and I go, $200,000 off this asking price, I'll even tell my clients, if they give you that price, I'd probably buy it for that. But, you just have to see, that's you wasting your time writing an offer. But right now, with the way your business is right now, I would write an offer, whatever it is. So, does that make sense?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, anything else I can help you with?
What comes to mind at the moment? Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah, I'll be gone, so I'll be here, so I'm leaving tomorrow, my sister lives in New York and I take care of my mom.
Oh.
And so, she's got some health challenges, so she had to move in a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right, you were telling me you go drop her off.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop her off, then I'll be back, then I'll be in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday next week, I'll be gone until after Thanksgiving. Well, I'll be here the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but, okay. Yeah. So if you need anything during that time, just reach out to Russ. Otherwise, I'll be back after that. And then let's get back onto a rotating,
Yeah,
and we can look at schedules then.
because I'm gonna be working through kind of new schedule and stuff during that time, because this month's been weird, I've been
Yeah.
not on a consistent schedule, it's just been all over the place.
Well, and that's, the end of the year, my schedules kind of go all over the place.
Just with the holidays and stuff.
Just with things that are going on, and I'll take some time, not like time off, but I'll take the time between Christmas and New Year's. That's where I focus all of my SOI, and I set up all my campaigns for the next year. So I'll spend, I'll come in, shut my door and just get it all set up so that when January hits, I don't have to do emails, I don't have to do the mailers, I know what programs I'm doing, I do my business plan, I get everything set so that when I come in here on January 2nd, I'm not in the catch-up mode. And I do that even now when I'm not, my real estate business isn't as focused as it used to be, but I still work my real estate business.
Yeah.
So,
Catching strings.
so I like that, but that's those type of things, I won't meet with agents on that, but it's not that I'm gone, it's just, they're just different. And then we can schedule something that will work for you.
Awesome.